Hello everyone, welcome to Amazing World of Science. I am going to be a science teacher today. So today we are going to see about the chapter Why Do We Fall Ill in Class 9 CBSE. So you might all have heard of earthquakes and cyclones that attack so many regions. So thinking of the ways in which they affect our health, so there are going to be a lot of health related complications that occur near the regions which are affected by cyclones. You may read it in the newspapers, or you may hear it from your relatives, parents and everything. So when we study about this, we will know that health and disease in human communities are very complex issues. So both of these are interconnected. So the health and disease, the term themselves are really complicated. So first that we have seen that cells are basic units of living beings. So you have learned that cells contains a lot of chemical substances like protein, carbohydrates, fats and lipids and so on. So actually the cell is actually a dynamic place. What is meant by a dynamic place? A lot of reactions are happening at the same time. You know, in your body there are a lot of reactions. You might learn it in chemistry too. So like the chemical reactions, you have a lot of reactions taking place in your body, which is actually called as metabolism. So cells conduct metabolism, so they are always dynamic. So even though the cells do not move, there is always some repair work going on, right? So imagine you have a bridge or something, you need to conduct regular maintenance work so that it is maintained properly. Same way in the body, the cells have to maintain themselves, so they conduct certain repairs. So always new cells are being made. In our organs and tissues, there are specialized activities going on. Like for example, always your body is doing some work. The heart is beating. Even when you are sleeping at night, your heart has to beat. So then the lungs are still breathing. Even when you sleep, you are still breathing. The kidney is filtering urine. The brain is thinking. So all of these activities are interconnected. So if the kidney is not filtering urine, a lot of poisonous substances will be accumulated. So under such conditions, the brain will not be able to function properly. So for everything, energy and raw material are required from outside the body. So food is a necessity. From food you will get carbohydrates, fats, which provide you energy. So anything that prevents proper functioning of cells or tissues will lack the proper activity of the body. So first we are going to learn about the significance of health. So we have heard the word health used all around us. So we use it ourselves as well. So we say my mother's health is not good, something like that. So actually health is a state of well enough to function physically, mentally and socially. You should be able to perform normal functions physically, and your mind should be healthy. And socially, you should make friends and you should interact with others. So health is defined as a state of physical, mental and social well-being. So health of all the organisms depend on the surroundings of their environment. So health, as I said before, so in case of cyclone, the health of the people living there is affected. And we human beings live in society, so it is called a social environment. Even that is actually very important towards our health. For example, if there is pollution in the area where you live, you might have problems with breathing, you might develop asthma. So then imagine, so you know you have a garbage system wherever you live. So the municipality or the corporation will be taking away your garbage. So imagine what will happen if no agency is ensuring that garbage is collected and disposed. What will happen if no one takes responsibility for clearing the drains and ensure that the water does not collect in streets or open spaces. You know that mosquito breeds in dirty water which is present in ditches and everything. So a lot of mosquito related diseases will be present, like malaria, dengue. So And so if there is a great deal of garbage thrown in a street, the area is going to be really dirty, and there is going to be a lot of the people are going to be affected with certain diseases. So our area and surroundings need to be clean and maintained regularly. So we need food for health, and the food have to be will have to be earned by doing work. So for this, opportunity to do work has to be available. Good economic conditions and jobs are need for individual health. For example, you might have seen your father and mother working, mainly because work gives you money, and with that money you can buy good food. So which is necessary for a healthy individual. So also we need to be happy in order to be truly healthy. So if we mistreat each other and we are afraid of each other, we cannot be happy and healthy. You need to maintain a mental well-being, and social equality and harmony are therefore necessary for individual health. Next, we are going to see distinction between health and disease free. So what do we mean by health and what do we mean by disease? So actually, disease, we can also say it as disturbed ease. Ease in the sense, a sense of calmity. So disease literally means a person being uncomfortable. For example, imagine when you have a cold or something, you do not feel good. You actually feel uncomfortable. So that is what disease means. But so actually we can easily see that it is not possible to be in poor health without actually suffering from a particular disease. Simply not being diseased is not the same as being healthy. So imagine a dancer. A good health for a dancer should be means being able to stretch his body into difficult but graceful positions. For example, good health for a musician might mean having good breathing capacity in their lungs to control the notes. So so good health is different for different people. So we can be in poor health without being a simple cause in the form of an identifiable disease. So when we think about disease, we think about societies and communities. So on the other hand, when we think about disease, we think about individual sufferers. For example, when we see in a society, if most of the people are healthy, we can actually confirm that the societies, there are no communicable diseases in the society, and the surroundings are clean. So what does disease look like? So let us think a little more about diseases in the first place. So how do we know that do you have a disease? In other words, how do we know that something is wrong with your body? So there are many tissues in the body, as you might know. What are tissues? Accumulation of cells which perform a specific function is called a tissue. So multiple tissues make an organ. So multiple organs make an organ system. You have organ systems like cardiovascular system, which comprises of your heart, then respiratory system, which is concerned with your lungs. Then here, so for example, the digestive system has the stomach and the intestines, and it performs a specific function. It helps you to digest the food which you eat. So the musculoskeletal system, which is made up of bones and muscles, hold the body parts together and help the body move. So whenever there is a disease, either the functioning or appearance of one or more systems of the body will change for the worse. For example, in your organ systems, your organ systems may not be able to function properly. So these changes give rise to symptoms and diseases. So symptoms of the diseases are the things that we feel wrong. So when we have a headache, we have a cough, we have loose motion, we have one with puff, usually you do not have that. Usually in your day-to-day life, you do not experience these headaches and everything. So you know that something is actually wrong with your body. It is a way of your body saying that there is something wrong. So then you know you have a disease. So signs of diseases are what physicians will look for on the basis of this symptoms. Like you have seen doctors, when you go to a doctor, they first ask you what is your symptoms, what are you actually suffering from, to rule out the causes and identify from what you are suffering from. So now let us see about acute and chronic diseases. What are acute diseases and chronic diseases? Diseases which last for very short periods of time are called acute diseases. For example, when you have a cold, it just lasts for 4 to 5 days. So that is an example of acute disease. A chronic disease is a disease which lasts for a long time. So it is present on your body for a long time, sometimes even as much as a lifetime, which is called as chronic disease. So one example of chronic disease is elephantiasis. It is present in many populations of India. So in elephantiasis, it causes enlargement of lymph nodes. So as you go in higher classes, especially 12th, you will learn more about it. So now chronic diseases and poor health. So acute and chronic diseases have different effects on our health. So any disease that cause poor functioning of some part of the body will affect our general health as well. So imagine you if you get a cold, so you take leave from your college or school for few days. So you might miss some few portions, but as soon as you come back to school, you will be able to cope up, you will be able to study the missing portions. But imagine you have a chronic disease and you have to take a long break, it will be very difficult for you to cope up. So for example, chronic diseases like tuberculosis, so people who get it are ill over so many years, so they feel tired all the time. So they have a very drastic long term effect as compared to acute diseases. So what causes diseases? When we think about the causes of diseases, we might remember that there are many levels of such causes. So if a baby is suffering from loose motion, we can see that the cause of the loose motion is an infection with virus. So then we will be thinking, where is the virus coming from? So maybe it is from unclean drinking water. So the baby must have drunk the unclean drinking water. Then another reason is that the baby might not be healthy. So it is more likely to develop such diseases. You know, your parents tell you to eat good food with vegetables and tell you to get some fresh air and tell you to play out in the sun, so that you get vitamin D. So if you do not do these things, you will know that soon you will get sick. So that means you do not have good health, and so you are exposed to more risks of developing diseases. So another cause is lack of good nourishment. So now we are going to see about infectious and non-infectious causes. So you know, microbes, viruses, bacteria. So microbes are small organisms which can infect our body. They can live in us. We are called hosts, and they cause certain diseases. So what are infectious and non-infectious diseases? So diseases where microbes are immediate causes are called infectious diseases. Diseases which are caused by microbes. So you know, microbes can spread in the community. For example, when you go to school, if your friend has a infectious disease, if they have cold, you also have a chance of developing it, because microbes can spread from person to person. On the other hand, there are also diseases that are not caused by infectious agents. For example, like cancer or jaundice. So this cannot spread in the community. So then some cancers are caused, for example, cancers are caused by genetic abnormalities. So high pressure can be caused by excessive weight and lack of exercise. So the way in which disease spreads and the way in which they can be treated. So there are so many ways in which they can be treated and they can be prevented in the community. So there are doctors who practice community medicine, it is all about studying the diseases and risk factors of developing certain diseases in the population. So, those doctors work together to prevent these diseases from forming in the community. So, we are going to see about infectious diseases. So, the entire diversity seen in living world can be classified into few groups. This classification is based on common characteristic between different organisms. Organisms that can cause disease are found in wide range of such categories. You know, viruses, bacteria, fungi, single cell animals, so protozoans. Some diseases are also caused by multicellular organisms such as worms. So, this is a SARS virus, for example. So, you know, you have the COVID virus, which is caused by a virus. Then malaria, which is caused by a protozoan. This is trypanosoma. It is a protozoan responsible for sleeping sickness. This is so common in Africa. So, this is saucer shaped red blood cell, and the organism is lying next to this. So, this actually to give an idea to compare the size of that of a RBC, red blood cell, and the protozoan. So, this of staphylococci, this is a bacteria. It can cause acne. So, for example, acne is I mean, it is similar to pimples. And this is a roundworm. So, this is an adult roundworm, Ascaris lumbricoides. So, it is actually present on the small intestine. Next is, so examples of disease caused by viruses. These are really important. So, the common cold, influenza, dengue virus, and dengue fever and AIDS. So, diseases like typhoid fever, cholera, tuberculosis, anthrax are caused by bacteria. So, common skin infections are caused by different kinds of fungus. So, protozoan microbes cause many familiar diseases, malaria and Kala Azar. So, we have seen intestinal worm infections and elephantiasis. So, elephantiasis is caused by Wucheria bancrofti, and so all viruses for example live inside host cell, whereas bacteria rarely do. Viruses behave like non-living things outside of the body. So, once they are inside our host cell, they behave as a living cell. So, metabolic reactions take place, and bacteria are closely related to each other than to viruses. So, important life processes in bacteria are not shared with the virus group. For example, let us take the antibiotics. So, they commonly block the biochemical pathway important for bacteria. I told you there are so many reactions taking place in our body. So, a biochemical pathway in something is something a series of reactions take place in order to give provide a product. For example, the food you take, the glucose for example, it undergoes certain processes which is called a pathway to give you energy, alright. So, many bacteria make a cell wall to protect themselves. Antibiotic penicillin blocks the bacterial processes that build the cell wall. As a result, the growing bacteria become unable to make cell walls and die easily. So, when bacteria do not have cell walls, they are more vulnerable to be destroyed by the cells of our body. So, penicillin will have this effect on any bacteria, but viruses do not use this pathway. That is why you do not take antibiotics to you do not take antibiotics when you have a viral infection. So, when you have a common cold, taking antibiotics does not reduce the severity or duration, but if you get a bacterial infection along with the common cold, taking antibiotics will help you. So, how do diseases spread? So, disease causing microbes can spread through the air. As you might know about the COVID-19, it is a typical virus which spreads through the air. So, if for example, if somebody sneezes in a closed room, so there are little droplets in it, a person who is standing close by, when they take in air, they can breathe in these droplets, and microbes get a chance to start a new infection. The signs and symptoms of a disease will depend on the tissue or organ which the microbe targets. If the lungs are the target, then the symptoms will be cough and breathlessness. If the liver is target, there will be jaundice. For example, if the brain is a target, we will have headaches, vomiting, fits or unconsciousness. So, what do you do when your family falls sick? So, there are two ways to treat an infectious disease. One will be to reduce the effects of the disease, and other will be to kill the cause of the disease. For the first, we can provide treatment that will reduce the symptoms. We can take bed rest so that we can conserve energy. How do we kill microbes? One way is to use medicines that kill microbes. We already saw that microbes can be divided into certain categories. So, each of these groups will have some essential biochemical processes which is peculiar to that group and shared with the other groups. So, these processes may be pathways for the synthesis of new substances or respiration. So, that is all for today. Thank you so much for watching the video. Bye bye.